After some 57 years of extensive research, the cause of death classified as sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS, has baffled science and to many remains a mystery. It is arguably the deepest mystery in medical science. An Australian theoretical physicist, Dr. George Christos, D.Phil, Oxon, believes he stumbled onto unlocking the mystery behind SIDS while studying memory and dreams in neural network models in the 1990s. His theory, which we discuss in this video, received widespread international media attention, but is still not that well known today. SIDS is the third largest killer of infants in the first year of life. A decade ago it was the second, outside of congenital anomalies existing at birth, and accounts for some 2,500 deaths each year in the United States, 200 in the UK, and possibly tens of thousands worldwide. These numbers have also repeatedly halved each decade, over the last few decades, by warning parents about so-called risk factors. It is not that long ago that hundreds of thousands of babies died each year from SIDS. It was the second largest killer of infants in the first year of life. SIDS is so poorly understood that it is only diagnosed after every other cause of death is excluded following an extensive autopsy and examination of the death scene. Most infants who succumb to SIDS are usually in good health prior to death. To put it quite bluntly, the first and only symptom of SIDS is death. This is quite extraordinary, given we have made such major advances in other medical diseases like cancers, AIDS, and even COVID-19, says Dr. Christos. Up to the 1990s, when I first came up with the idea, people had no idea why so many babies were dying, and why certain preventative measures even worked. Dr. Christos believes that the underlying cause of SIDS is related to a baby dreaming it is back in the womb, where it did not have to breathe, because there the mother supplied it with oxygen through the blood. In the course of that dream, a baby may stop breathing and die, because it imagines it does not have to breathe. This astonishing theory came to Dr. Christos when he was explaining to friends at a dinner party how lucid dream researchers, who become conscious during the course of a dream, had discovered that when we dream that we are swimming underwater, we actually hold our breath. He knew we dream about our own set of memories, and that a little baby, which dreams for longer than an adult, is likely to dream of being back in the womb, its memory. Most theories can explain only a single fact about SIDS, whereas my theory is consistent with all of the known facts, says Dr. Christos. And the reason we have not been able to find the medical cause of death is that it is in the mind of the infant. Dr. Christos' theory explains why the risk of SIDS is so much higher if an infant is placed to sleep in the prone, face down, sleeping position, or if it is extensively covered during sleep. Both of these factors may remind the infant of being back in the womb. Face down, the infant assumes a fetal position, and womb-like conditions may remind the sleeping infant of its fetal memory, he says. When the baby sleeps face up, or in the supine position, the risk is less. Dr. Christos also notes that giving a baby a pacifier, or dummy, reduces the risk of SIDS significantly. When this fact was first discovered, many researchers suggested that this was because a pacifier keeps the infant's airway passage open. But this could not explain why thumb sucking was later discovered to be a risk factor. Dr. Christos suggests that a pacifier helps because it is a postnatal phenomenon, whereas thumb sucking is something that a fetus normally does at 7 months gestation. Another very strange finding is that sleeping an infant in the same room as adults helps to reduce the risk of SIDS, so long as the infant does not sleep in the same bed as an adult. Dr. Christos says this is because sleeping in the same room reminds the infant that it has been born. But if an infant sleeps in the same bed as an adult, it may remind it of being back in the womb because of the heartbeat of the adult the baby is sleeping with. The fetal memory dream hypothesis, as he likes to call it, also explains why all of the chemoreceptors in a baby's airways and lungs, which detect a fall in oxygen or an increase in carbon dioxide and should normally awake the sleeping infant, fail simultaneously. These mechanisms are controlled by the brain. The infant brain does not realize there is a problem. It thinks it is a fetus, and all of the alarm bells are turned off. Other theories have to assert that a SIDS infant is extremely ill, whereas this is simply not the case, says Dr. Christos. Another key stumbling block for SIDS theories has been to explain the apparent hiatus of SIDS in the first month or two after birth. For some reason, infants are protected in the first month. Dr. Christos says that his theory can explain this as well, for the first time. The apparatus in the brain, which is required for dreaming, such as the connections from the thalamus to the neocortex and back, are not properly developed until 1 or 2 months after birth, so a baby does not start dreaming right away. There is no miracle cure or vaccine, says Dr. Christos. The only way to reduce SIDS is to make the environment of the sleeping infant as little womb-like as possible. There are a number of new measures other than sleeping the baby supine and avoiding excessive bed covering that can be taken to reduce the risk further, says Dr. Christos. One could add some white noise, like a radio playing out of tune, for example, he says. Toys on the market which make womb-like sounds should be avoided, he said. This extraordinary theory is presented in a book by George Christos, published recently by Rutgers University Press and UNSW Press, called Memory and Dreams: The Creative Human Mind. The last chapter is devoted to his theory.